Okay. All right. Fantastic. So we are in countdown. What our gathering is going to be on November 5th. We're excited. Marianne and Kirsten were at the farm yesterday. It's Hideaway Springs in Loudoun County. And they got to hold and love on a 1-month-old lamb or something.
4 days.
4 days old.
Hey, old Caracol.
Oh, he was so adorable.
So that's going to be fun. And so it's a little bit different. We're gonna do it in conjunction with the Solitude Wolves Farm Day. And so stay tuned to the details when we get them. It's a ticketed event, but for the general public, but we will be getting a coupon code for free tickets. So I will let you know when we figure that whole part of it out. And like we had last time, we're going to have some vendor setups. I know that Solitude has some classes slated, which would be under their farm day, which would have a cost involved. So I think there's a spinning class. Do you guys remember what else?
They're knitting and felting coasters.
Okay.
And then I think they're spinning, and there may be one more, but those were the two I recall her talking about.
Okay.
Yeah, there's going to be a rug hooking class, a
Oh,
spinning
that's right. Yeah.
class, and then the knitting and felting, I think, will be probably a no cost workshop. That was my understanding. It's more like to get a feel of the caracal wool, but
Okay.
I might so.
Yeah, we don't have all the details yet. So we decided to do it this way because Solitude already had this day planned, and instead of like dividing our community into two pieces, we thought let's just do it all together, and maybe we can also get more people interested in the fiber shed that just know about Solitude. So that's what we're hoping. So that's on the 5th. So of November. So we basically have like 6 weeks or so. I know I'm not quite finished yet. So, and I know a lot of people aren't, but just like what happened last year, bring your projects as they are. And we will celebrate everything that we have, right? That's the point of it is, sometimes things take longer or they get in the way or whatnot. So that's just
as in success is in the journey, not the destination.
You are so right. And especially when you're talking about knitting and spinning and all of that. I think that that's so true, Maria.
Yeah.
Here comes Mary Lou. Yay. Mary Lou's in. That's good. Okay, so what we were going to talk about today was the submissions. And I wanted to talk about, let's see if I can get here. I wanted to talk about the taking of your photos for the submissions. And then of course, we're going to do our community share at the end. So let me change this to a slideshow. So just like last year, but not everybody did it last year, there is a Google Doc to complete. And this will be in the email that I send out. And I guess, Jan, I'm going to have to send you your very own email for whatever reason. And at the bottom of that form, there's a place where you can add your 2 photographs. And we asked for 2. One would be a full photograph and one is a detail that maybe shows part of your technique or the color or something like that. We're asking for the deadline to be October 17th, which is the week, like the midweek before Rhinebeck, because a lot of us are going to Rhinebeck, and we wanted to have that kind of under our belt before we left. But if you need more time, just reach out to us, send us an email or something, and let us know. I'm going to submit something, but I'm a little behind. Okay, because then we know to have a place for you. Basically, what we do with those submissions is that we print them out, and then I'm hoping that Marion is our MC again, and that she will that she uses what you have written to then do talk about your project as you walk across the stage, or however we set that up. I hate to say it's not really a fashion show, because while some of us are making garments, others are also like last year, Marion made pillows, and there was rugs being made and some quilts. So it's not just fashion, it could be home textile. So it's like walking the gallery walk. It's basically what it is. So then taking your photos, some of the most important things about this is photograph your piece on a plain background, like a sheet or the top of a table or on your floor, something that's not going to be have a pattern behind it. It's easier if you look at the two photos. The one on the plain black is a little easier to read. It's not as busy as the one that's on the shibori piece. And if we're going to put these in the book like we did last year, it's nice to have a plain background and to be able to get your whole piece into the photograph and not to have too many busy things. You can stand, if it's a garment, you could stand in front of the wall and have someone take your picture. You can, if you're not going to wear it, or if it's like this, I just put this on that's the top of my piano, and took a picture straight down. So just take a photograph with it being on a plain background. So now this is specifically for iPhone users. If you have an Android phone, I don't think that you have these issues. I think this is really a issue with iPhones. So your photos need to be in regular JPEG. And so the first thing you need to do is to make sure that you're in the compatible format. And if you have an iPhone, and you could follow along, you could take out your phone and look under settings. You scroll down to where it says camera. And then at the top of camera, it says formats. And you click on that and you say most compatible instead of high efficiency. And we're asking you to do that because those high efficiency ones, we're not able to, they're really hard to change from that high efficiency into JPEG. And so if we're going to make a book or put it anywhere on a website, it really is hard to manage that. And it will be easier for you in the long run if you're sharing pictures with your friends or family to have this as most compatible, because guess what? It's most compatible. The next thing is you need to make sure that the live is off. So on your camera, again, there is at the top on the very left-hand photo, there's that little round piece. And right now it has the line through it. That means that the live is off. What that means is that, and you may have seen this when you take a picture and it's in live, when you look at it, it kind of like does a little jiggle it's kind of like a partial video at the very beginning of your picture. And again, that's something that's really hard for us to fix for you. So we're asking for you guys to do it before you send it to us. Now, if you have forgotten to do that, it's very easy to then, after you've taken the picture, to fix it. And that's what the middle picture and the right picture are about. So when you're in your photos and you've taken a picture, it will say live at the top where you see that. And then you click on the down arrow and you say off, and then it becomes a JPEG again.
And again, that's for people who have Apple iPhones?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think that Androids have this issue, but I'm not positive.
My Android doesn't have that issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, I think I'm pretty sure it's just the iPhone thing. But a lot of us have iPhones, and I can from experience last year, I had to fix a lot of photos. So that's why I'm asking for you guys to do it before you send it in. It just is helpful to us. Okay.
And Lisa, will you be posting all this somewhere?
People can, we're recording this and then this goes onto the YouTube channel.
Great.
So I'll let people know that all of this is in the YouTube channel. It's easier to do this. I think it's easier to watch this than to read instructions. That's just me. I'm a terrible reader of instructions. Then we've also asked in the past for it to be pixels 2000 by 2000. Most cameras now are doing pixels in the 4,000, 5,000 range. And again, it just is helpful to us. I download this image size. I'm not saying it's the best one. I'm saying it's the first one when I put in image resize app, and it was free to use. So basically, when you open it and put in your picture, it has, so the right hand picture will show you can change it to 2000 and 2000, and then at the very bottom it will copy it back into your camera roll. And there are other ones that you could use, and so that one probably is something that you would need to do as an Android user, is to change the pixels. Okay. And then lastly is you need to rename your photo. So this is what my camera roll looks like. You have all these things that are like images, right? IMG 8407. That's not going to help me to know that that's Mary Lou's or that's Maria's or that's mine, right? So you just need to rename it. And basically you just, right click on it and you can hit rename. And then you would name it like your last name _ full, if that's your the full garment, or your last name _ detail. And then that will help us organize all the photos that we have. Any questions there?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry, I'm doing this on my phone because just thinking of the people who are entering more than one thing, maybe not just last name _ full, but like Steptoe sweater full, Steptoe felt purse full, something like that to help you further.
You are so right, Mary Lou. I will change that. And thank you for mentioning that. I didn't think about it. Yeah, if you are entering more than one item, you need to do a submission form for each of your pieces, which I neglected to put in this PowerPoint too. So thank you, Mary Lou.
But also what I'm saying is when you identify the photo, if you're going
Yes.
to budget them later, and somebody like Marion who probably has 5 entries, you probably want her to say, Bruno felt pillow, Bruno felt vest or whatever, so that each picture is also easily accessible to you.
Exactly. Thank you. I appreciate that. We'll make those changes. Any other questions about that? So a submission form for each one, renaming it. If you have more than one, renaming it with your, like sweater, hat, and full or detail. And if you would help us out by changing the size, putting in the name, making sure it's not live, and making sure it's on most compatible. If you have an iPhone, that would be fantastic.
Thanks. Sounds good.
Okay, and I'll make sure that, usually after these, I take the recording, I put them onto the YouTube channel and I send you out a link for that. And I'll make sure that more instructions are complete in the recording. All
Thanks,
right.
Lena.
I'm sorry, Ellen, what did you say?
I just said thank you very much.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So now I think we're at the point where we could share where we're at in our projects. And I think Kirsten was going to lead us in that.
Hi, everyone. I'm so thrilled to see people that haven't been here in a little while to see your projects. I have a bit of an echo here. But normally we just go around and sort of give an update, but I was meditating on updates and such before our meetup, and I was thinking I think one of the things that we've asked is like, well, we start with a project and we move into it and we make changes and we have roadblocks and we have aha moments. And sometimes we completely unravel and start all over again. And so I think if today we might share sort of like what have you connected with in your process? Have you had any real roadblocks or aha moments? And maybe like what questions have surfaced for you in the making? Because I think a lot of our making time is quite meditative. And I notice like my mind wanders, onto these tangents with, and it could really have to do with nothing that I'm working on, but often it is like a question of the fiber or a question of something that's related to the project. So it'd be lovely if that sparks a chord, share something. If not, just show us your projects. So who would like to start rather than, pointing a finger, just if someone wants to volunteer, and then you can choose the next person and we can go around the room like that. So first up.
Well, I'll start. I actually shared my finished object last time. It's done. It's
Yay.
but since then, so I've been trying to encourage members of our local spinning group that meet virtually on Fridays, most Fridays, to also submit something. And one person in particular, Emily, whose last name I can't remember, she and I split one of Lee Langstaff's fleeces, down the middle, and each processed, spun, and knit a different thing. And I'm really excited about comparing them because she ended up, I don't know if she drum carded it. I combed my half. I think she drum carded hers. I spun sort of semi-worsted, not super worsted, but semi-woolen, somewhere in between. I'm trying to get into a lighter density of wool, but she spun hers very woolen and very airy. And so I'm really excited. I hope she, submits it, because her shawl is light and airy and it's the same fleece. And mine is, it's denser. It's not super dense, but it's cables. It's got cables in it, and it's just so different. And I just think the compare and contrast is very fascinating. So she's interested. I don't know if she's actually done it yet, but and she lives out that way, so it's going to be super convenient for her to participate, as long as she doesn't have to go out to Williamsburg to where her kid is at school.
That is such an exciting idea. I love that, Jelaine, of seeing, two makers, two hands, and the same fleece, and then coming back together again.
Yeah.
How beautiful.
Yeah, so I'm excited about that. And she's done with hers as well. Is on to her next Lee Langstaff fleece.
That'll be so fun to see.
Oh, I will select Mary Lou.
Well, I don't know if I'm visible. I'm just sort of limping in here on my phone. Well, I'm doing a sweater with it was a wonderful natural dyed yarn that I got from Solitude Wool, and uh, it's just a pleasure to hold it, which is good because it's a from the base up to where you get to the color work, which I'm just starting on the yoke now. So it was like a marathon, row after row after row, and it was so delightful to have a good hand feel, even though I'm thinking, when will this ever end? My challenges are just learning it's a beautiful pattern. It's got extra long floats, which I've never really had to deal with before. I've only dealt with color work where I'm usually taking 2 stitches and then switching a color. So the floats pretty naturally tie in. And so I've done a lot of YouTube looking and have learned a couple of new variables, and it's very enjoyable. I have, let's see, I think I have 49 more rows to go and I'm done. And I've set myself the challenge of trying to do like 4 a day. Hopefully I'll be done by October 17th.
What's the yarn, Mary Lou?
Pardon?
What's the yarn?
It's the Solitude. It's the Blueface Leicester natural dye. It's mostly the jewel weed, which is a lovely sort of soft pumpkin orange, and then a little bit of weld, which in this case has come out very green. So the pattern is oak leaves and acorns in green on this orangey background. If I had a camera, I'd show you, but I don't. So let's see. I guess I'll nominate my friend Marion to go next.
Well, I am still in the phase of I've made my vest and it still looks terrible. I think Mary Lou's considering coming over for another dye day with me to see if we can't rescue this gray. Lisa suggested I just give it an iron dip first to see what happens there. So I'm still working on that, and I got very inspired by seeing what the Virginia Commonwealth students are making. So I'm thinking I should try to get something felted to be determined by the time we turn these in a month. So that's where I'm at.
Wow, that's great. I love, for those of you that didn't see Marion's project, it's like you've dyed it, and over dyed it, and over dyed it, and I remember actually an artist, India Flint, saying it's not done until you like it. So you really.
I'm far from liking it. We have all the colors that it's gone through, and here's its current color.
Yeah.
Oh,
We will see what happens. But so far, I feel good about the sewing. It's held up through all the different dye baths, so I figured that's a good thing.
Well, and I have to say that I think beauty is in the eye of the beholder, because a lot of those students at VCU loved it.
I know. Love them all for their kindness. So I'm gonna choose Nancy.
Hi. So I got a little ambitious today actually, and I'm swatching literally now. If you can see it, the color's not coming through. It's from Simple Hill Farm. It's a purple logwood, and the yellow is indigo and marigold. It was something I bought last year at Shenandoah Valley Fiber Festival, and had this idea to do a cowl. I'm like, I can whip out a cowl in a few weeks, right? So anyway, we'll see how it goes. So here's the yarn. No, that's the wrong yarn. But I don't know if you can see the yellow and the purple. The purple is more purple than the screen showing. So we'll see if this makes any progress. And then the project I've been working on and off for a while is this large shawl. It was yarn I also got last fall at Shenandoah Valley Fiber Festival. It is a Loudoun County Moon in the Mountain Farm. It's a merino from Loudoun County, and it's just a very simple shawl. Just texture, slips, twisted stitches. I got some progress on it. So it's gotten to that very boring point. It's a lot of stockinette stitch. So I kind of needed something to mix it up. So that's what I got going on.
Oh,
That's beautiful.
beautiful.
Yeah, and I'm really loving the texture of this wool. It's just a really nice, it's still a little greasy, loosely spun. So it's just nice to work with. It's kind of bouncy, and lovely.
Did you say it was a merino?
The merino, yeah,
Beautiful.
yeah. Alrighty. I went to myself, so I'm not sure. How about Ellen?
Thanks, Nancy. I guess what I need to do is to complete. Sorry, is it me or a different person?
Yeah. No, it's you.
Okay. I guess what I need to do is pull out the incomplete sweater that I, almost finished a long time ago. That's made with Lisa's fiber shed yarn that I bought from her a couple of years ago. And I got it mostly done. The sleeves are not done. So I will do my very best to get it out, finish the sleeves, and get it photographed so that we can show it on the 5th. I think that'd be great. It has been in cold storage, I don't know, archive for quite a while. So I'll have to remind myself what I was doing with that sweater. But yeah, I've been working on a lot of things, but I haven't been working on fiber shed things for quite a while now. So onward and upward. Maybe you will see that yarn back at you again, Lisa.
Yeah, that would be good.
Well, remind us of I can remember it. Remind us of the color of the yarn.
It was dyed with
Walnut and madder.
madder, yeah, and it was in 2 shades. So part of it was dyed in a fresher dye bath, and part of it was dyed in a slightly more exhausted dye bath, I guess. So it
Yeah.
came up with 2 nice shades that are kind of a peachy, sort of I guess a pinky peachy shade, something
Yeah.
like that. And yeah, so they're really pretty, and they go well together. So that's the plan. I would volunteer to go and find it right now so I could show you, but I moved a few months ago, and a lot of my yarn stuff is in disarray right now. So I have no confidence that I would actually put my hand on it when I really wanted to find it. So I'll see if I can show it to you next time we meet.
Great. We'll look forward to that.
Do I
Thanks.
have to ask, when you said it's in cold storage, you didn't literally mean it was in cold storage?
No,
did you?
no,
Okay.
I literally meant it in a pile of stuff.
When I went to college in New England, and we used to be able to send our sweaters to the dry cleaner. All of our woolens could go to the dry cleaner in May, and they would clean it and put it in cold storage for the summer.
Oh,
You could pick
wow.
it up in September and October. I doubt
Yeah,
they do that
nice
anymore,
service.
but yeah, it was like
Yeah.
there was like a thing they did for all the college students. They could just all your woolens would go off, and they would keep them for the summer, and it was some sort of cold storage facility to keep the moths out of it. I was like, that's such a brilliant thing, right? I'm like, we're leaving for the summer anyway. You don't have to be in an attic.
Right. I've got,
Anyway, sorry.
I'm not among my friends who, I do have friends who, on a certain time of year, they'll take all their woolens out and wash them and block them and put them away so they'll be nice and
Wow.
fresh in the fall. But unfortunately, I don't have that kind of discipline. So I do not,
Me
delight.
either. We need dry cleaners to do that for us, right? We need a service that will store it for the summer.
So that's all I have to say. So I'll pick Jan.
Really have anything to show you. I have been doing other things during the summer. So my shawl is about 60% woven on the frame, but if I get it done, then I still need to fringe it, which is at least another 4 hours. And I have no idea where my hat is. So, but as it turns out, I shan't be here for the harvest day anyway, because I got a cheap airline flight to California, and that's where my husband and I will be visiting his 93-year-old aunt.
Well, you can still put your piece in the show if you'd like.
If I get it finished,
Yeah,
I will send it. If I get either of them finished.
Jan,
I have been doing a lot of preserves the past 3 or 4 weeks. Figs and pears and things that are coming into season, which is satisfying but very messy.
Sounds delicious.
And Jan, what is the weaving? What materials did you use for your shawl?
That's the one that is trying to save some old cashmere and wool yarn that got eaten by moths. So
Mm.
it's being woven with yarn that is knotted together, and there's all these tails
Oh.
hanging out, which
Oh.
will look very
I love
modern when it's
that.
finished. But this is being woven on a frame loom where you have to open the shed by hand.
Mhm.
And every one
Oh.
of these knots slows me down. I mean, normally I could weave this triangular shawl in 4 hours and then fringe it in another 4 hours. But it's slow.
Yeah.
But who knows? I mean, the dog died, the dishwasher died, which was a period of much longer inconvenience, and all these things happened. But I went to Ontario for vacation, and I got some Canadian wool that I'm knitting for my granddaughter, and that's just going to have to be how my retirement goes.
And like
Um,
what Maria said earlier, it's about the journey, right?
Yeah.
It's all good.
Yeah.
But if you don't actually finish the project, have you actually arrived?
You're still on
But,
the journey.
Oh, absolutely.
One step. in front of
Also,
the
I
next.
grew the linen, and I saw the linen in Kirsten's background, and I think I have overredded 2/3 of it. So it's kind of a disheartening summer.
Mm.
That I did that last summer. Or the summer before, overreaded my plot. It's really very difficult after you've tended and watched it, and the
And
hundreds.
it's happened so fast.
Yes. But yeah, then we just plant again, right?
We'll try again next year. But
That's a
I will tell you, for people who are interested in the linen, I made this sacrifice so you don't have to. I drove 4 hours to Western Pennsylvania to the Stallstown Flax Scutching Festival. I was there for 2 hours. Nobody scutched any flax. It's a cute little festival, but it reminds me of the Fireman's 4th of July Carnival that I have been to in some small communities. It's all about this community, and it's 108 years that they've been holding the festival.
Oh, wow.
God bless them. But there really isn't anybody there who is super duper into making linen cloth. They have spinning wheels, they have looms. I took pictures, but in the first 2 hours of the festival, nobody was demonstrating that. They were, however, making and eating quite delicious buckwheat pancakes.
Ooh.
So I got buckwheat flour, I got some souvenirs. I talked to some people. And then the afternoon will be filled with a reenactment of a Indian massacre. So I decided to skip that. I mean, it is historical, 1763. And there was a lot of reenactors, both French and Indian War and Civil War. Though I don't know what in the Civil War happened in the Ligonier Valley. I used to be a reenactor, so I understand that they have people who come every year to socialize and to do stuff like that. But it really was not worth a 4-hour drive out there.
Good to know.
Yeah.
See more about linen manufacturing at the Sheep and Wool Festival, I think. And certainly at the Redstone Glen open house.
Good to know.
Okay, for sharing. And we look forward to
So,
seeing
who hasn't spoken? Jillian.
No, I did.
First,
What about
Kristen. And
Kristen.
At least.
Yeah, what about, did Maria go? I can't remember.
No, I didn't go yet.
Yeah, so Maria, tell us where you're.
And my apologies for lack of video. I've done everything I could to go through the steps to fix that, and I just can't get it to work at this point. I'll have to work on that later. I think I've had the last summer or however many months, similar to a couple of you, what you described in terms of family losses and other things. So I'm just, went through a long period of not working on anything, and I'm just getting back to picking that up again. And I'm at this point, I've been out of touch for a while, so I'm not sure what I'm doing even fits with where this was going, but I'll tell you what I'm working on. I'm working on several things, but one is a local historical park, and Jan, you mentioned you are a reenactor. Pamplin Historical Park is the museum for the Civil War soldier. And so they have a period set up there, including a house, a garden, and they keep a herd of Gulf Coast native sheep. So when they shear them each year, they were just throwing the wool away. And I know, and I connected with them. And so now each year they give me the fleece and I bring it home and I, skirt it and wash it and comb it and spin it and knit small soap pouches. And they work similar to your felted soaps, but they're reusable. So I have
nice.
a couple of local folks that have sold some for me and what have you, but that's kind of that and a cotton thread tunic I've been crocheting. So those are the two projects I've been able to get picked up again. And I guess probably the soap pouches are going to be the most realistic thing I finish in time for this, if it still fits with the parameters of this.
Sure.
Oh yeah. Our
Yeah.
our parameters are very flexible, as everyone knows. You can start in
Thank
one
goodness.
stream and move into another, and
Well, and
again,
also even just the spun yarn would be considered, an end of a project as well. So if you
That's
don't
right.
get to making the actual pouches, because we had that happen last year.
Mhm.
Some people are doing like the 2-year plan. They spun last year and then they're making they're knitting this year. So think about
Okay.
that.
Good thought. Good thought.
So I have a question about the Gulf Coast native. I mean, how's the fiber?
I like to describe it as a utilitarian fleece.
Oh, that's too bad.
Well, it's decent. I will tell you, I will choose it over Hog Island any day, but it's a dirty fleece. It takes some hard processing to get it clean,
Mhm.
but it combs, it spins decently. So, I don't mind using it. And certainly for things like, reusable soap pouches and that kind of thing, it's very good for that.
What's the staple length on that?
I would say on the average, 3 to 4 inches.
I wish Mary Hemsey was on this call. She's raising Gulf Coast natives.
Yeah, and Jelaine, didn't you work with the fleece a little
I
bit?
haven't worked with her fleeces. I
Mm.
purchased a Gulf Coast native from somebody in Kansas.
Mhm.
It doesn't qualify for this, but it was lovely.
I guess again, it has a lot to do with how the sheep was raised and just, yeah, the sort of genetic makeup of the sheep itself. And
Yeah.
there's so many
That-
And
factors.
age,
Yeah.
it could be age as well.
Terroir.
That's the main thing.
Terroir,
They,
yeah.
they
Yeah,
are
the terroir.
raising, they're raising those sheep for their historical presentation, not to sell or to give even as a fiber product. So I'm taking what I can. I hate to see it wasted, so I do what I
Right.
can with it.
And I think that's the beauty of your project. I mean, you're really giving it a life and a use. It's
Mhm.
That should
beautiful.
be part of your story. That's
Yes.
Definitely.
absolutely,
Okay.
definitely should be
I
part
will
of your
do that.
story.
I
Yes.
would definitely say that's the highlight, that there's, no such thing as waste, right? We can always find the
Absolutely.
use. It's just finding the
Absolutely.
time.
Yes, ma'am.
I wanted to say I took a moment and I found my sweater.
Oh, yay, there you go.
Super.
Right.
So that yeah,
Awesome.
Anyway, these are the
Yay.
colors.
That looks
That's
lovely.
so cute.
Lovely.
Now, what are the-
Oh, look
what
at
are the
that. That
dyes?
is so cool.
What were your dyes again?
It was
Another-
matter.
It was madder, I think.
Wow. But look at
But
the
anyway, it
colors.
looks good. The color, it looks good. This is Polypay, as I recall.
Yes.
Oh.
Polypay dyed with madder, so It's the real thing, but it's supposed to have sleeves, so
Are the sleeves going to be striped or one color?
they're, I think, going to be the darker shade because the back is all the
Ooh.
lighter shade.
Wonderful.
Right,
Nice,
that's
I love
great.
that.
I think the sleeves will just be the darker
Beautiful.
shade. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, so I got to pull out the pattern and remind myself what I was trying to do. But
Yeah, great.
excellent news. I actually stored it with the needle stuck into it, so I do know what's
The needle size,
Oh,
very
sweetheart.
key.
Yay.
Hey,
Yay
does-
for forethought, right?
Well,
I
don't
was
have so much
thinking,
forethought, but-
Jan, I would love to see Jan's process or a little bit of a video of how she's doing that weaving with incorporating the repurposed yarn.
I have a couple of still pictures that I
Okay,
can send, but I they're on my phone, so it's not something I can display to you now.
that's
Mm-hmm.
fun.
Yeah, just Jan, you can send them to me and I can send them out to the group.
Awesome.
Excellent.
I have a quick question about Polypay. Since Lisa, that's your yarn, and maybe
Yes.
Ellen, you have some experience, but I've heard that it's it's a fiber that doesn't felt easily, and that you could even technically wash it. Not that you would put your sweater in the wash ever, but
Yeah, it's a medium wool. I don't know that I would
mm,
I don't know that I would trust it, but that's interesting. Maybe I should do a little test and
Mm.
put it in the washing machine. Because it's
Yeah.
not a down fleece, it's a
it's a
medium
little
wool.
longer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And those are I got those fleeces from a guy in Virginia. You know, a lot of producers, they just like what Maria was telling us, they have the animals for meat or for,
Yeah.
pasture control, but they don't know what to do with the fleeces. So one year I bought 400 pounds of his clip. So
Mm.
that's a lot. Yeah.
And we all get to benefit by
Yeah.
using your yarn. Thank you.
Yeah.
not a terribly soft yarn, but it's easy to knit. And
Yeah.
it's it had a fair amount of VM in it as I was knitting it, but yeah, it was fine. It seems fine. I have never seen Polypay sold as a knitting yarn before this.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what other people, but I think it's just fine, and it obviously took up the color well.
It's beautiful. I
Yeah.
love
That's
Mm.
right.
Well, kudos to Lisa.
it.
Thank you.
Is this Marianne Pagano in the Chesapeake Fiber Shed window? No.
N-
Who's in the
No.
Chesapeake Fiber Shed window?
Me? Are you
Yes.
talking about me? Oh, this
Yeah.
is Lisa.
Lisa,
Sorry,
I'm
I
sorry.
changed
Lisa.
my name. Sorry.
That's okay.
Well, so I could go next because then that would segue because let me spotlight myself. I think I can do that so that everybody can see. Yeah. So I took mini skeins with that same Polypay and made a little hat with a little bit of color work in it.
Yes.
And I made it so that it would be kind of, slouchy in the back.
Nice.
I
Sweet.
like that.
The
Yeah.
colors
Does
are
that
really
matter?
cool.
And what?
So this is Matter. It's actually would be on the borrowing stream because there's a little bit of marigold, but then there's some Kutch here, and that isn't something that we grow here. So the two different colors. So the top part, the pink is Matter. That's like an exhausted pot, and this is like the full strength pot.
It's beautiful.
Really is.
And then my sweater, I finally got to the part
Mm.
Ooh.
where I'm starting you can't really see. I'm doing feather and fan at the bottom
Mhm.
here. So I'm changing. This is supposed to be an Ursa sweater, which has like vertical striping on the front and back, but I decided, I think I want to do something that's more undulating. So I'm changing the pattern. And it's supposed to be long sleeve, but I may keep it short sleeved. And this is a bulky yarn, 2-ply bulky, that's Rambouillet, dyed with
Mhm.
dyed with walnuts. And it just goes to show you that yarns take up the dyes very differently, because last time Rowan showed us walnut dyed Tunis, and it was a deep, 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 deep brown. And I had tons of dye in the pot. I dyed it twice, and it's still, you know, a tan color.
You know what it makes me think is about lanolin in the wool, and you know, you think about a Rambouillet and a Tunis, and
Yeah.
yeah, even though your Rambouillet is washed and prepared and all that, it still may retain more.
Right.
And that
Right.
just might be that little bit of resistance. But I wanted to say how beautiful it's looking, the black walnut. Like when you
Yeah.
first started, it was sort of hard to see how it was gonna, and now the black walnut seems to really fit to the shape of
Yeah.
the sweater and everything. It's beautiful.
And I like how I have little spots of color where
Spots, yeah.
something took up right there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The dry tips.
Yeah, something like that,
Yeah.
exactly.
So,
So
yeah, that's interesting, because I did indigo, for fresh indigo on Rambouillet hand spun a few years ago, and it also it's modeled. It's not like a solid. It's like some other hand spun that I used. I can't remember what it was. It came out pure solid, but on the Rambouillet, it came out kind of modeled.
That's so interesting.
More dramatic, and it is Rambouillet is it's a greasy fleece.
Mhm.
It is a greasy
Very.
fleece, that's for sure. And these fleeces I bought from a farmer in Pennsylvania.
Mm.
So he brought them to the last Pennsylvania wool pool that we had, and I'm a wool classer. And he brought these, I don't know, I think he brought 4 big sausages of fleeces. And so it was about 10 feet long. And I don't know, like this, you know, really big around. And instead of sending it to a place that's, you know, that's just going to make it into, you know, is just going to put it in with medium wools and everything, Emily just kicked those to the side. And I bought part of that clip because it was just so, you know, I'm pulling it out going, this is so beautiful. It just can't go to Chargés or Mid-States where it's just going to be, you know, put in with a bunch of other stuff that isn't as nice, you know? So, yeah.
Well, that's part of the story too, isn't it, Lisa?
Exactly. Yeah.
And just that was the last wool pool too, is kind of
Yeah. It was the
interesting.
last Pennsylvania one, and but it was after the last Maryland one. We haven't had one in Maryland since 2017. Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. When you're classing wools, is there any difference between a Rambouillet and a Delaine Merino or a Saxon Merino?
There's always going to be a little bit difference in staple length and luster and those kind of things. What we're looking for when we're classing is trying to put fleeces together that would match so that they would make a nice yarn together. So if you have something that, you know, you could put all of those together if they were similar staple length, and that would be okay.
Okay, so
But
the
all of those are
character of the
fine.
fleece is actually the same among all these merino cousins.
Yeah. And same with Cormo. My sheep are Cormos, and so there isn't that much of a difference between the Rambouillet and the Cormo either. Very greasy fleeces, very fine, really crimpy. Yeah.
Could we have a whole conversation just on the challenges of getting these fleeces out to where they need to be? So that people either, I mean, it sounds like the Gulf Coast native example we heard earlier isn't necessarily the best example for yarn bound, but I just get so worried when I hear like wool pools are over and and not that that was necessarily the best solution, but it's like, what do people do with all this wool? They have to shear their animals. What's happening to that wool?
It's a big
Yeah.
problem. Yeah.
And we as Chesapeake Fiber Shed are working on that problem, but also Fiber Shed in general with all of its affiliates are also working on that problem, what to do with waste wool, whether that's make it, using a pelletizer to make it into a product you can use for gardening amendments. Or there's somebody down in Virginia who's building an insulation plant to make these things into insulation. So there are people that are working on it.
And Tracy is sending her warbles fleeces off to have to be made into
Mattress
not mattress,
stuffing.
Pads and stuffing and
yeah.
trying to find other uses. I mean, it's actually an international group through Fiber Shed that's trying to find uses for all of this wool that's wasted. It's not, when we think of waste wool, we think of what gets skirted off, and that's great for the pelletizer, but to come up with other uses, since most people don't want to wear that stuff next to their body. So,
Right.
And I mean, we're all artisans and working sort of small scale, but the projects that we do, do help to elevate and bring that conversation to light for people that wouldn't necessarily think, oh, Gulf Coast or, et cetera, or even start to think about the different breeds of sheep. So, I feel like the more we can take these conversations out into the public and make them visible, it also makes for the possibility of change and, more people being interested in breed specific uses. So I think everything helps, not to discredit our small wonders, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And
Well,
Kirsten, what about you? Tell us about your project.
So I'm working on Selbu mitts for the family, in theory.
do you find
And
them? The ones that
yes,
were-
I want to say last time we met, I had a sad story that I had lost my mittens in transit because my summer has been a lot of back and forth, and I had the airlines searching and I don't know who else searching. I feel terrible, but I did find my mitt and it was just misplaced. So I now have
Yay!
my second pair. It's oh, you can't see.
Got the sun behind you.
Oh,
Yeah,
Oh my
Lovely.
God.
lovely.
those strings,
Yes.
and it's fresh indigo.
Dang it.
And my first pair were goldenrod. And they're sort of
Oh,
goldenrod copper pot. And yes, I have a book with probably 100 different patterns, but I'm really stuck on this pattern, which is a ram's horn. That's what and it's a traditional pattern. And I thought, by the third pair, I'm going to have my own pattern going. But no, I've started my third pair and I'm doing the same pattern. So what I really hope is by the time we show our work, and this might be a 2-year project, I will have something that maybe speaks to something personal, because all of these patterns were derived by families and their specific relationships to the world around them and whatever their life, and so they're very symbolic in that way. So anyway, I started my third pair, and again, the color is not showing, but it's
You're reversing the colors.
yeah, I am. So
That's
this is
good.
Lee Langstaff's wool from Roving that I bought at the last Sustainable Cloth show or closing. Gathering, thank you. And it's lichen dyed, the purple. So it's it's a little bit of a reach stretch for me. Like the colors are really sort of flashy a little bit, even though they're, almost the same gradation. So I'll see how that goes, but I'm happily moving along slowly. But
They're
then this is-
beautiful. They're just beautiful.
Thank you.
Really nice.
I forgot to show you guys. I found a perfect head-sized ball at the Five Below store. So
ah,
that so that I could block my hat on it.
Beautiful.
Wonderful.
Or if you were going to make a felt hat, would be a good size for that too.
Good to know.
Yeah. Or if anybody wants to borrow it,
We know where to go.
you know where to go.
Don't you love it when you find something that isn't for the use that you want, but you figure out how you can turn it around? You feel so clever.
That's really what we're all about, isn't it?
It really is. What a nice way to, yeah, bring our conversation today to a close. It was lovely to see everyone's work. So exciting.
Definitely.
Thanks for getting together, and sorry for any technical glitches, but I'm glad all of us got here.
Good
Yes,
to
we
see you
did.
all again.
I'm glad to be here. I just wanted to mention that I belong to another group called Hyattsville Fiber Arts Guild, which meets on the third Sunday at 3:00.
Oh, my
gosh.
goodness.
So I sent them a message saying, this week I'm going to my fiber shed group,
Oh.
and they sent me a message back saying, we're thinking of moving to Tuesday night. And I'm like, what a great idea. I vote in favor of that. But